Hi guys, Larissa with BeCozi.net is here. So happy new year, and we are starting a new series of videos. I will be showing you how to make different sizes of blankets, and I will be using different yarns. First of all, of course, I will be using super chunky merino wool. And then I will also be using a new yarn that we have in our store, felted merino wool. Also, I will be showing you how to make different sizes of blankets from chenille yarn and also from a super chunky vegan yarn. So we'll have a lot of videos. I will be posting them every week. Please subscribe to our channel and please comment underneath every video. This way YouTube sees that they are popular, and these videos will be on the top of the list when people are looking for hand knitting with giant yarns. So today we will start with a small blanket. It's our smallest size after baby blanket, and this size is 30 by 50. We call it a lap throw because it's basically covering your lap when you're sitting on the couch. It's enough to cover medium-sized person from toes to the waist area. This is the width of it. It's 30 inches. And this is the length. It's 50 inches. So don't count that it will be a huge blanket. It's a small lap throw blanket. Here I will show you this way. This is a 30 by 50, and you will need 4 pounds of super chunky merino wool to make it. And I will be using pearl white. It's our most popular color in our store. This wool can be bought at BeCozi.net, at BeCozi.etsy.com. Let's get started. Okay guys, let's get started. So we have 4 pounds of this beautiful super chunky merino wool in pearl white or ivory color. So to start, this is your tail. This is working yarn. You're placing it like that. Then you're making a loop. Insert your hand inside the loop, grab working yarn and pull it out. This is your first stitch, and this stitch can be made smaller or bigger. We will keep it about 3 inches thick, 3 inches high. Now we will need to make a chain of 12 stitches. Insert your hand inside this first loop, grab working yarn and pull it out. Now you have 2 stitches. Now we'll be using either left or right hand. It's up to you what is more comfortable. I'm usually using my right hand, inserting hand inside, grabbing working yarn and pull it out. This way you are making a chain for 30 by 50 inches blanket. The chain needs to be 12 stitches. It's easy to calculate. You need to divide the width of the blanket you need to make by 2.5. That will give you the amount of stitches to cast on. So now when we have 12 stitches, this is our chain. When we have the chain ready, we will start our first row. I usually keep the working yarn in that on that side where the knitting will go. In this case we will go knitting left. So this is your first stitch. You're keeping it this way. Now before making your first row, flip over the chain. Now you will be using this knots that you will see in the middle of every stitch. These knots. See these knots. Do not use top, do not use the bottom, as I was actually showing in my previous videos. You need to use these knots in the middle of every stitch. That will give you a beautiful chain on the bottom of the blanket. Otherwise you will not have a chain. It will be okay, but it will not look as beautiful as this way. So you're skipping the first stitch. This is your first stitch already. This is your second one. Insert your hand or 2 fingers underneath, grab working yarn and pull it out. The same with the next one. See this bump? Lift it and insert your 2 fingers underneath, grab working yarn, pull it out. And keep doing this way until you have all 12 stitches pulled out this way. That will be our first row. You are casting on this way for any pattern. Pattern usually starts with the next row. The first row, what we're doing now, we're just pulling out all the stitches. This is our first row, pulling out. Here we have 12 stitches. This is our base, our first row, and now we will be making second row. And for second row, as I said, working yarn is always go that way where we need it. So now we will be knitting to the right, and I always skip the first stitch on every row. The only first stitch I'm not skipping is this was in the second row, because that will be looking beautiful on a ready blanket. So the same way as you were pulling out the stitches, and this is the same technique for hand knitting on all projects. Inserting your hand, grabbing working yarn, pull it through the stitch. That's all. It's very simple, just a little bit of practice and you will make a really beautiful blanket. One of those that you saw on all social media, Pinterest, Instagram and Facebook. Insert your hand, grab working yarn and pull it out. So basically when we're knitting to the right, we're using our left hand, inserting to the stitch and making a next stitch. If or when you are knitting the next row, as we will be doing it now, you will be using your right hand. That's how I am doing it, and you can do it the same way. Here's the working yarn going to that direction where we will be knitting. This is our first stitch, and as I said, I am not knitting it, I'm skipping it. The reason is because if you skip the first stitch, your side will look like that beautiful chain. And this is our goal. We need to have chains on the bottom, on the sides and on the top. So we're skipping the first stitch, and now we're using our right hand. Insert your right hand inside the stitch, grab working yarn and pull it out. Insert the whole hand or just couple fingers. It's up to you what is more comfortable for you. Keep knitting this way until you're done with all your 12 stitches, and then we'll go to the third row, and as I mentioned already, we will skip our first stitch. So we always need the last one. Do not make this mistake leaving the last one. We always need the last one, but then when we're going to the next row and working yarn goes in that direction, you're skipping this first stitch and you go and knit the next one. See? So now for 30 by 50 blanket, if you are doing it the way I am doing it, it should be loose. This stitch should be 3 inches inside the stitch. This is the common mistake of all people who knit first time or just couple first times. They tend to knit really tight. All my blankets are knitted loose with 3 inches stitch, and not just 3 inches, it's 3 inches inside the stitch. This is the 3 inches, not this. This is 3 inches. This way you will need less wool. If you're making stitches tighter, which is fine, some people like tight knitting, but just make sure that you have enough wool, because the tighter you knitting, the more wool you need. We're knitting loose. It's 4 pounds, and the blanket will be 30 by 50. So keep knitting this way until you knit at least 20 rows. Remember, 12 stitches, 20 rows if you're knitting loose. I actually sometimes even make it 21 stitches to make it 50 inches, and then I will show you how to cast off. Okay guys, so we have our 21 rows done. It's 50 inches, and in order to measure it, what I'm usually doing, I'm usually putting the blanket like that on the angle, and then measure it from the end, one end to another. So this one is 51 inches, which is really good. So now we will be casting off. For casting off, you will have about 2 yards left. If it's more, it's okay. Then you are grabbing 2 first stitches that you have, place them on your hand like that, and then grab working yarn and pull it through both. Now you have 1. Add another stitch to the hand. You have 2 now. Grab working yarn, pull it through the stitches. You have 1 again, and add another. Grab working yarn, pull it through, and keep doing this way until you go through all stitches left, and you can see that you will have a beautiful chain on the top. And I will show you the chain on the side that we have, because we were skipping 1 stitch. Okay, so we have just enough. So let's see, we have just enough, a very small tail. So 2 stitches, 2 last stitches. Pull your working yarn, not completely if you have the same situation like this, and then grab this tail and pull it through the last stitch. Gently pull it, and this will be the end of your knitting. Now you will weave in the end. I usually weave it in or hide it on the back of the stitches like that. And here your beautiful blanket, 30 by 50. You can buy this wool at BeCozi.net and on our Etsy store, becozi.etsy.com. And stay warm and be cozy.